What if I told you your hormones weren't actually trying to ruin your day? Would you believe me? It's actually true. There's a lot of reasons our hormones respond the way they do, and they cause disruptions to our day or even just discomfort. In our modern society, we women especially have been told that it's all in our head and it's part of aging. So we put up with the mood swings, the energy fluctuations, the emotional instability, and we blame our hormones for them. Now, while hormones undeniably play a crucial role in our physiological and emotional experiences, it's really essential to understand that beyond that, there's a very specific reason our hormones are putting us on that emotional roller coaster every single day. Us women, we can, and most importantly, need to understand that we can holistically approach our well being and empower ourselves to take control of our emotions and our hormones so that we can not have them be such disruptors that many of us experience. So, first, hormones are complex. There's all kinds of hormones in our body, and it's an area of health that is greatly misunderstood. It leaves us on so many prescriptions that simply don't do a thing besides block the hormone from sending us that crucial message that it's trying to communicate. There's a lot of factors that influence hormonal behavior, including stress, diet, hydration, and sleep, among others. So I recommend to my clients before we kind of go too far down the road of hormones, let's look at the behavior that's causing them to trip up and see if we can support the root cause of that. Now, there's very specific things that I like to look at first, but number one on that list is stress. Stress is so underplayed in terms of what it does to our health, and that alone is a cause for so many problems in our hormones. And it creates a lot of just unnecessary problems that if we got to the root of it, we'd be all right. So, number one is stress. We have to get a better handle on it and find the right balance of it and where it belongs in our day. Now, on the other side of hormonal behavior is our own aging. We are constantly getting a little bit older as much as we don't want to admit it. It's a natural cycle of life, and your hormones actually change in response to the changes that happen in the normal course of aging. And in sometimes, especially for us gals who go through menopause, we're bouncing all over the place with hormonal changes that are not keeping up with our lifestyle. They're interruptions, and I'm talking specifically about those hot flashes and things like that, where our hormones are just up and down really significantly. Now, yet again, we can look through the lens of things that we can do about aging. And believe it or not, there's some things you can do that help you age more gracefully through correct supplementation, specific lifestyle changes. Again, stress management comes in this. But supporting our need for metabolic and cellular detoxification is even more important as we age because those things naturally slow down. And often it's a result of just lifelong stress that our body can no longer repair from. So here again, we see a great resistance in our society when it comes to aging, and that doesn't help matters. We have this anti-old, everything needs to be young and beautiful to look at, and we stop celebrating our birthdays and we start blaming our hormones and age for all our problems. Now, I love what Helen Mirren says about aging and learning to let it go and to love yourself at any age, which I think is just so key. This is an important message for our mental health as well as our physical, because trust me, your hormones are listening and they are responding accordingly. Now, let's look at the emotional aspects of ourselves that influence hormonal behavior. And I just mentioned that words actually do impact your hormones because the mental well being is part of your overall health. So, our life circumstances, relationships, finances, jobs, family, all the things, they add stress, right? They can be complicated. They can feel like we don't have choices in some situations. And it's where we often personally find growth in ourselves and how strong we can be, but it also influences our hormonal responses. The ability to be self aware and identifying the emotional triggers in our life circumstances is important because it's where we can unlock why hormones are responding the way they are. If you're constantly flipping to that fight or flight mode of adrenal rush to deal with stressful situations, then your emotions are also playing a role in that, which are triggering hormonal responses. And it's not too, it happens pretty quick when you deplete your reserves on this stuff. So we then see vitamin deficiencies, which then further complicate the situation that we're dealing with. So we have emotional aspects of ourselves that need to be addressed, life circumstances that may or may not be in our control at every given moment. And granted, there's a lot in life that we can't control. But the more that we can be aware of these things and look for how we're responding to it, again, we can give our hormones so much just plain support and acknowledgement. They are not our enemy. Now, lastly, let's talk about toxins because they too have an important impact on our hormonal behavior. We are living in a very toxic world these days. We're exposed to a lot of chemicals and just things that don't interact well with the human body, including a lot of food that we consume that is laboratory made, chemically produced, and your body doesn't know what to do with that stuff. So your body was actually built to protect you and keep you safe. And what happens is, if you are never able to take a break from the toxic things around you, whether it's a physical food item and something in your environment or even a relationship, then your hormones start to respond to that to let you know there's a problem. There's toxic overload happening. And your body is in overdrive trying to protect you and get rid of that stuff from your body. But again, if you're never switching from the stress response of that threat, all it does is build up in the body. And it never gets a break to detox and get rid of those things. So they get stuck in the body. And then your hormone gets in this vicious loop where it can never go away. It's trying to get your attention. A great many of us, unfortunately, are carrying around a lot of toxic overload in the body. And it's resulting in hormonal problems and also introduces things like brain fog, low energy, depression, and more. Again, common answer that we often hear is just take medication for it, block what we're feeling, and move on with our day. But if we can actually address the problem and start reducing our chemical and toxic load, we often find healing is completely possible. What it really comes down to is understanding your hormones are just messengers. They are trying to let us know our body needs something from us so that it can reclaim that new state of balance to deal with this situation that we are in, whether that's, again, physical, emotional, or even spiritual. They are responding to the constant changes that's happening as we naturally age, as things happen around us, as stress happens, as anything happens. Your hormones are there to trigger responses from you and to make sure your body is in a position to protect you. It can be uncomfortable. But instead of covering up and ignoring those messages, why don't we listen to our body and give it the support it actually needs? This is where working with me as your holistic health practitioner can be so beneficial because we're not looking to just relieve the symptom. We're looking to address the root cause. We're looking to give you relief and stop it from happening. And we're addressing it as a whole being, not just your physical aspect, but your emotional and mental as well. This is the place where working with me helps because you get to personalize the experience and get at the things that are really bugging you that your doctor just wants to cover up and not listen to. So it doesn't mean, though, This is super important. So hear me on this. It doesn't mean that you may not ever have to take a medication for it, because you may. But if there's a way to holistically respond to something happening in your body, to me, it's certainly worth exploring to see what it can do for you to help reduce what you're experiencing and see if the results could be better. So you can certainly set up time with me at dragonspitapothecary.com.